Hello everybody and welcome back to round 5. We're basically halfway done the World Cup at this point, and today guys we are racing in Monza, just like the regular F1 calendar. First was Spa, then it goes Netherlands, but now it's Monza basically just like it was back in the day. And I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown of what the driver standings look like going into Monza. So currently leading the World Drivers' Championship is Charles Leclerc, followed by George Russell in P2, tied with Daniel Ricciardo. In 4th we have Lewis Hamilton, followed by Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, Zhou Guanyu, Liam Lawson, Sebastian Vettel, and Lando Norris round out your top 10. From 11 to 20, we have Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, Mick Schumacher, Alex Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, and Nicholas Latifi. In your team standings, we have Germany with 58.5, followed by the Netherlands with 55. Great Britain is in 3rd with 52, followed by Italy in 4th with 45. Canada is in 5th with 40, followed by Switzerland, Australia, France, Japan, USA, and last is Thailand with 0 points. Now guys, I'm going to give it over to a different commentator. This is one of the mods in my Discord. This is Seikatsu or Seikatsu. I say it wrong every single time. I don't know how to say it. Her name is hard to pronounce. But thank you so much for doing the commentating on this race. With that being said, take it away.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Grand Prix. I am not CFRacing. I am your host Saikatsu for this race, as I am a Discord moderator for CFRacing. Make sure you check out the description for the Discord. You can ping me in the Discord, talk about this race all you want, as we are now on board with Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc has been doing decent for Team Italy, as he has scored 43 points for them, and now you're on board with Oscar Piastri, who's done the exact opposite, scored 0 points. But back to Leclerc for a second. Leclerc has been doing really good in the World Cup. 43 points, carrying Team Italy, kind of like a little bit with Ferrari right now, where he's carrying Sainz slightly, but Sainz being unlucky, as Sainz only has 2 points in this World Cup, which he's got to step his game up. But Leclerc's been doing great again for Team Italy, as he's going to be sizing up to get a nice, decent top 10. He's going to need a top 10 finish to keep scoring points, to keep his championship lead going, and anything could really happen in the World Cup in my opinion. And I think that if Leclerc can get a good lap, he might win the World Drivers' Championship. But in reality, I think the World Constructors means more, so we need Sainz to step up for Team Italy, as Germany again is leading the standings. So anything can happen in the World Cup. And Before I cut off, we'll talk about my fellow commentators coming in. We'll be talking about Anthony Davidson and Crofty, as they'll be talking about the track. Charles Leclerc is going to be pretty close to finishing this lap, and he will probably get a top 10 coming in with this pace he's been going. And we'll see y'all when it comes to the starting grid, as I pass over to Anthony Davidson and Crofty.
Welcome to Monza, where the crowd are ready for today's action. And we hope you're ready to see the world's best drivers fighting it out for that #1 spot. It's time for the Italian Grand Prix. With top speeds reaching 215 miles per hour, only a few places can challenge Monza's crown as the fastest circuit in F1. Hard braking zones going into the 3 chicanes make up the majority of the 11 corners on this 3.6-mile circuit. And just in case the slipstream wasn't enough, 2 DRS zones will help encourage some closer action. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are 3 main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness, and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Thank you, Anthony Davidson and Crofty, as we now hit the starting grid. And I believe it is Lewis Hamilton on pole, as he is, with Verstappen not too far behind. Very close laps from both of them. as we will see coming into P3 with Checo Perez coming in with Vettel P4, as George Russell's P5 with Gasly in P6. We see Charles Leclerc coming in P7 with Lando Norris in P8, Fernando Alonso P9 with Lance Stroll in P10. We see Guan Yu Zhou P11 with Mick Schumacher in P12. We see Alex Albon 13 with Daniel Ricciardo in 14. We see Valtteri Bottas P15 with Carlos Sainz in P16. We see Oscar Piastri 17 with Ocon 18. We see Magnussen 19, Latifi 20 with Tsunoda and Liam Lawson finishing the grid. As this is a very impressive and entertaining track, as 8 drivers have scored their maiden F1 victory with Jackie Stewart, John Pablo Montoya, Sebastian Vettel, and recent Pierre Gasly. As 5 red lights go out, and away we go, coming in for Lewis Hamilton now be leading the Grand Prix. As we see Sebastian Vettel maybe looking to make a move on Max Verstappen as he is defending really hard. Verstappen will hold position, and I believe there was some contact from the two as we see a piece come out. There's contact potentially in the back, so I think it was Carlos Sainz maybe losing his wing, and we see Perez losing his side end plate of his front wing, as we now see a lot of cars being close, and I believe we see Hamilton and Verstappen and Vettel leading the pack for right now, but we don't know who really has damage. I definitely believe it's Perez as he loses, the front wing end plate, and we see Lando Norris and a lot of other drivers very close together, and I believe maybe that Carlos Sainz is holding them up because he has front wing damage, as all of these cars are very close together. Yeah, we see a little bit of a gap right behind, as we see Carlos Sainz has wing damage. He doesn't even have a wing at all. Yeah, he has lost his entire wing, as we see Ocon looking to make a move on Carlos Sainz. And Ocon is going to shape a move on Carlos Sainz. This is very bad for Team Italy. Carlos Sainz losing his wing is very bad because he only has 2 points in the standings. And he needs any sort of, leverage he can get in this championship fight. And it's not going great with Team Italy. As we see, Checo's looking the box because he lost his front end plate of his front wing. And we see Carlos Sainz is probably going to follow suit as well coming into the pit. And, it's going to be very tragic for Netherlands and Italy with these two coming into the pits with the damage, as Checo finally gets his front wing on right now. And we're going to use some of the recovery drive from Checo if Team Netherlands wants to do great. As we see Lewis Hamilton is now leading the Grand Prix still, with Verstappen and Vettel right behind, rounding out the top 3 still. And I think the chase is still on between Vettel and Verstappen, as those two are very close. We're riding on board with Verstappen right now, and he's getting closer to Lewis by the second. Same with Vettel being close with Verstappen by the second. So anything can happen. Stroll isn't that far behind, and Gasly looks like he's a little bit of a distance away. But anything can go in the World Cup. It is Monza, and it's very unique of a track. As stated earlier, there's been 8 different winners to get their maiden win. So again, anything goes in the Italian Grand Prix, as it's just survive and make it to the finish. Very quick track as we keep riding on boards, and a lot of these drivers are very close, and it's very quick. I see Ocon's on board as well. Very close, very quick again. So anything can happen. As we see, T. Thailand might be making a move on Team Australia right now, but it looks like he went a little bit wide as Team Australia is now ahead, and it looks like maybe a Team USA car might pull ahead as well. I think Vettel's now going to be pulling a move for P2 coming in, as we see Vettel now hitting the move on Verstappen, and he's going to effectively get P2 right now with this move, as he pulls ahead of Verstappen coming into the turn. And this is a great move from Vettel, but Verstappen is Verstappen. Anything can happen in Monza, and as I say that, Verstappen on the next lap is looking to chase down Vettel, and it's a very close between the two again, and he goes to the left side, and seems Verstappen is now ahead of Sebastian Vettel. Great move from Verstappen, as Vettel is still right behind, so they might trade DRS again, and as I say, we see Vettel again trading DRS with Verstappen. He also goes around the left side like Verstappen, hits the move, is effectively P2. We see Verstappen somehow got ahead of Vettel, and we're seeing Vettel again going for a similar move on the replay, and great move from Vettel. It's just, anything can really go at Monza. DRS is helpful, quick track. We see Verstappen on the right side making a move, as again, trading DRS. These two are fighting forever, as it seems. And anything for Team Netherlands and Team Canada, they need these points. As we see the onboard of Max Verstappen again, the lying on the Netherlands. Look at the chase down Sebastian Vettel for like the 100th time, it seems, really, because Verstappen and Vettel have been trading positions, but they're actually going to pit this lap. And speaking of the Netherlands with Red Bull pit crew have been pretty decently quick in my opinion, and they're known for making miracles. Let's see if they can pull another miracle right now with Verstappen and see if he can pull ahead. Will it be a Red Bull miracle? And it will be a Red Bull miracle indeed, as we see Verstappen is now pulling ahead of Vettel with a quicker pit. What a great pit stop from Red Bull, representing Team Netherlands. And Team Netherlands needed to pull ahead of Vettel as they keep trading DRS the entire time. So that is pretty big for them. But where will Lewis be ahead when he box? Will Max and Vettel get a good undercut on Lewis? That's the real question, as Lewis is coming into the pits right now as we speak. And we see that Lewis, will he be ahead or will he not? As Mercedes is a pretty decent pit crew for Team Germany, so unless something like Monaco happens where the tire gets stuck, they should be in a decent position. And we see that Lewis has a good pit stop, so he will likely be ahead, but by how much is the question. As I stuttered right there like an idiot, but how much will he be ahead? We will see. Lewis is decently ahead, but not by much. As Team Australia seems to be holding up Max Verstappen and Vettel right now, as I think Team Australia is pulling ahead of Lewis as well. That's pretty close. So now Verstappen is now behind Lewis. So anything can really go with this roadblock in the way from Team Australia. And that is very hurtful. That's gonna hurt Lewis coming in. And I think contact might be made here. Ooh, contact was probably made on the side of Lewis and Team Australia. That might be potential damage. And that might give Max a move on Lewis right now with the roadblock of Team Australia holding up Team Germany. If Team Australia could keep holding up Team Germany right now, it's not going to be pretty good for either side, as Lewis might already have damage. Lewis is still trying to go and move despite potentially having damage, and he can't get it. The door's been shut on Lewis right now. But this is going to leave a move open for Verstappen, and Verstappen will seize the opportunity and go for this move right now. As I see Verstappen clearly looking to make the move on Lewis, and he pulls ahead on Lewis. What a great move from Verstappen. As we can see that Verstappen's ahead, but will Vettel pull ahead or will Lewis box because of the damage? Lewis will be boxing because of the damage. But Team Australia, this roadblock is still in the way, fighting people. And we'll see that Vettel is now also pulling ahead of Team Australia. It's kind of been a roadblock. They kind of need to pit, as they are not pitted yet at all. They are still out for some god-known reason. But we're going to see Sebastian Vettel make a move a couple laps later on Max Verstappen. And this is now for the lead of the Grand Prix. This is deciding who could win, really. And this has been impressive. But we see a lot of fighting right now between Team France and a bunch of other cars, I believe. As I think that is Lewis making a recovery drive on Team France and trying to make a move on Ocon, because Ocon's also making a move on another car. And let's see what can happen in this turn. Usually a lot of crashes happen, but actually the opposite. We'll see a mechanical failure instead of a crash. Mechanical failure for Team France is going to be brutal, especially for Ocon, because Ocon is 15 points in the championship, and he's kind of been carrying the load for Team France, and he's going to have to retire now, which is pretty tragic if I had to say the least. But this will open the door of opportunity for other teams to come in, as we see Verstappen is now chasing down Vettel still, and Gasly somehow in P3, so anything really goes. And we see George and Stroll kind of fighting right now as well, but I think George is still going to be ahead for a decent bit. Leclerc, it seems he's not too far behind, but kind of in the middle, no man's land, kind of not. Alonso may be chasing out Leclerc right now, and Zhou's a little bit distant from Alonso, but who's behind Zhou is the question that we need to learn, as he's going to cross the line. I think it's Ricardo now close, with Norris right behind, so anything could go, and Valtteri Bottas right behind. And Lewis is chasing out his former team, Valtteri Bottas, as they both used to race at Merck, but this is the World Cup. Anything happened, as we see Schumacher and Lewis fighting each other. Hamilton and Schumacher fighting neck and neck right now. And I believe Lewis is ahead with the DRS. And he will stay ahead of Schumacher. And what a great move from Lewis to just stay ahead. As the other Team USA cars quite a bit of distance behind, with Checo trying to make a recovery drive as his first incident crash. And a couple other cars behind. And Sainz also making a recovery drive. I see he lost his wing earlier with Team Australia right behind him. And Latifi pretty far distance. I believe we see Verstappen leading the Grand Prix, and he will be pitting with Vettel as the fight's still on between these two. Will Vettel be able to get a quick pit stop as well to pull ahead of Verstappen? Only time will tell as they're coming into the pits. And can you really beat Red Bull Team Netherlands pit stop? I don't know if you can. As we see, we're putting on the mediums, and mediums are on, and I believe that Verstappen's ahead of Vettel. And that is pretty crucial because these two have been neck and neck basically the entire Grand Prix, and they've been fighting each other like the entire race, so anything can happen. A couple cars still behind. I think Gasly's also exiting the pits with them as well, so the podium position has kind of been solidified, but the question again now becomes who's going to win the race between Vettel and Verstappen, as Vettel's looking to make a move on Verstappen as we speak, and we see that Vettel might get this move done coming in to the corner, and he definitely gets the move done by quite a bit of margin. But again, Verstappen's right behind him. I think we see Lewis making a move on Valtteri right now, and I think Lewis is going to be decently ahead of Valtteri. If it's not that's actually George Russell fighting Guan Yu Zhou. So George Russell's ahead of Guan Yu Zhou right now, but this is a very close neck-and-neck action coming from the two. And George Russell, the new Mercedes driver representing Team Germany right now, is doing great right now. He's going to probably pull ahead of Zhou, especially he's going to be carrying the load for Germany as Lewis at the pit. Will he be able to make the move on Zhou? And I believe he does. Wow. What a great move. I got the two cars mixed up. I got Team Germany, Team Switzerland's cars mixed up as Lewis and Valtteri are fighting, and we saw George Russell and Zhou fighting. With Verstappen also chasing down Vettel coming in with the last couple laps as well. This is giving a neck-and-neck finish. As we see, yeah, George Russell's at P4 now. That's impressive. With Guan Yu Zhou in P5. Wow, Team Germany and Team Switzerland seem to be fighting each other like crazy because we also have Valtteri versus Lewis right now. As we see the other couple of cars coming in with their grid positions. Leclerc's still chasing down Lance Stroll, I believe. So that could be an exciting fight with Alonso pretty distant from the others. Same with Ricciardo, but he might be chasing down Alonso, might be able to get the position with the Team Australian car as well. So anything can happen. Checo's decent bit behind. Yet there's Valtteri, and I think Lewis is the one chasing him down. And yeah, Lewis is looking to make a move right here. Will Lewis get the move down? Yes, he will. He will get the move down. Done and down and dusted. Move from Hamilton. And that is a great move. But I think Valtteri's fighting back right now. Wow. This is an epic fight between Team Germany and Team Switzerland. Between both cars of Guan Yu Zhou and Russell and Hamilton and Bottas. Both of the cars are just fighting each other neck and neck the entire race as well, especially with Lewis having to box early due to damage and give up the Grand Prix lead, which is tragic for Lewis, but excellent racing for us, as Lewis is now pulling ahead of Valtteri Bottas. And we're going to be seeing onboards of other cars and their grid positions, and Sainz is still trying to make this recovery drive. It's tragic days for Sainz, as we see Tsunoda maybe looking to hunt down Sainz as well. And we see another Team Australia car and the other Team USA car with Magnussen. So, anything still to be played here, as we are now riding back on board with Verstappen leading the race. And we're in the last 3 laps territory as Vettel gets the move back on Verstappen. What a great move from Sebastian Vettel, as he will now be leading the Grand Prix with the last 3 laps. But will Verstappen make a heroic comeback and attack him again? As, again, neck and neck racing between these two. They've been DRS trading. They've been doing everything to win this Grand Prix. And they will do whatever it takes to win this Grand Prix for their World Cup teams. As we see Verstappen go on the right side, making the move on Vettel, as he is leading the Grand Prix again. And this will be, again, to the finish, in my opinion, as another lap later, we'll be seeing Vettel doing a similar move to Verstappen, pulling ahead on the right side. And I don't know if Vettel made that move too early, because they've been, again, trading DRSs. So this is going to be key for Verstappen in the next lap. The DRS pull ahead and maybe win the Grand Prix. And he's still pretty close with Vettel. He is not really backing up, even though Verstappen's just still close. Yeah, he's getting closer and closer. I thought Vettel was pulling away, but he's not. Verstappen is just getting closer and closer. And Vettel might pull away in these turns right here, as Monza does create a little bit of a gap in the turns. But again, it's just straight line speed, and this track is just all known for that type of speed. And I think Verstappen will get a move coming down the DRS, but we're still in Sector 2, I believe, right now. And Verstappen's still neck and neck with him. He's still right behind him. And we're only on the second to last lap, so if he could get the DRS again on this last lap, he will probably win the Grand Prix. And again, I think Vettel made that move maybe a little bit too early. He might want to stay behind and then go for it next lap with the DRS and win, but that's the World Cup for you. They'll do anything to stay ahead and lead the Grand Prix. As they're coming across the final turn of the second to last lap, I believe that Verstappen will pull ahead right here with the DRS, as he's probably going to go around the right or left side. He's going to go around the left side with his DRS, looking to get the move on Vettel, and he does get the move on Vettel. What a great move from Verstappen, and this is going to maybe give him the race win if he could just defend Vettel off for the last lap. Maybe Vettel might get a last lap one, but we will see, as we see that Verstappen is still ahead of Vettel. And Vettel is going to have to do what Verstappen did and get pretty close to him, but it seems that Verstappen is slightly pulling away. But again, Vettel's pulling a little bit closer, but again, this turn is going to create a little bit of distance between the two. And I think Verstappen might have done it a little bit better than Vettel, and that's going to give him a little bit more distance, as Vettel is going to be banking on this DRS to maybe pull ahead, but I don't know if it's too little too late for Vettel, as this is a very close and entertaining race from these two, as we're going to see Vettel is closing the gap on Max Verstappen on this very quick straight line before the turn, and DRS wasn't enough for Vettel, but he did close the gap a little bit. He might be able to get him towards the finish line, but I don't know, folks. It's going to be pretty close coming in, and we're getting close to that final turn, and I don't know if Verstappen or Vettel will get this, because Verstappen has a decent amount of distance on him as they're coming close to the final turn, and this is not looking good for Vettel, honestly, and this is going to be neck and neck close. We'll see if Verstappen can win the race, and he will probably cross the line to win the Grand Prix. Will it be? Yes, he will! Verstappen wins the World Cup Italian Grand Prix. What a great race between Vettel and Verstappen, as we see Pierre Gasly coming home in P3 to round out the podium. And we'll see George Russell coming in P4, as Germany needed that, as Lewis was leading the Grand Prix, and we'll see a couple other cars follow suit. But what a great Grand Prix between Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel before we go to the podium celebrations. Will Alonso get enough points for France to stay ahead of Team Japan? I doubt, because Gasly was on the podium. But nevertheless, he will be crossing the line in about a bit before we go to the podium celebration. Again, what a great Italian Grand Prix from the side of everybody.
There it is then, victory in the Italian Grand Prix, an historic race, and an achievement they can be immensely proud of. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
What a great result from these two drivers.
There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Again, what a great result for these two drivers, as Crofty and Anthony finished their statements. Again, excellent race. I am your host, Saikatsu, as I hope you guys join the Discord. Link in the description. You guys can talk to me about this Grand Prix. Again, close race, and good luck to everybody in the World Cup.
At the end of round 5 in Monza, your Drivers' Championships looks a little bit different. Still on top is Charles Leclerc, with P2 having to be George Russell. But a big change, Max Verstappen is up into P3, followed by Sebastian Vettel in P4. Zhou Guanyu is up to P5, followed by Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, and Sergio Perez round off your top 10. From 11 to 20, we have Liam Lawson, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, Mick Schumacher, and yet to score is Alex Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, and Nicholas Latifi. After round 5, your World Cup team standings look like this. In first place, we have Germany in first with 70.5 points. And with 2 points behind them is Netherlands with 68.5. Followed by Canada moves up to P3. Great Britain falls down to P4 with Italy in P5. Japan P6. Switzerland P7. Australia P8. France P9, USA P10, and once again, Thailand still has 0 points in dead last. That is going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Next video will be in Silverstone, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.